And she's not a villainous. I'll tell you, I've crossed swords with her. But I know her strengths and her weaknesses. This is a woman of integrity. This is a courageous person. The biggest criticism that I have to make about her also has a compliment hidden in it. And it is that she's a human rights fundamentalist. And as a state or country, human rights cannot be all the time the first or the sole criterion in policy making. So this is the gulf that we have. But the world needs a human rights fundamentalist. And maybe Sri Lanka today in peacetime, because we've not cleaned up our act, we've not put the machine back where it belongs, the machine is moving on. Maybe we need a bit of human rights fundamentalism.
Do you think that the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, because if you read the description of the Commonwealth as it describes itself, a group of countries committed to democracy, liberty, freedom, equality, etc., etc., the Commonwealth values, if you will. So do you think that Sri Lanka taking the chair of the Commonwealth will somehow give incentive for Sri Lanka to clean up the act, the holding of the Commonwealth Government meeting?
Yes, it will, but I don't know whether that's the road we'll take. Burma/Myanmar did so because it was offered the chair of ASEAN. But it was also told that if you are going with the chair of ASEAN, well, there are certain things that you'll have to think through. And they did. They became the chair of ASEAN and they cleaned up their act. So the two things were coincidental. Now, Sri Lanka has a chance and an incentive to use the chairpersonship of the Commonwealth to put the past behind us, to clean up our act. I think it's in the President's interest, and I think he knows that. There are also voices, when you read the stuff in the state media sometimes, or ultranationalist, Sinhalese ultranationalist websites, there's criticism already of the Navipilla visit. There's criticism of the Commonwealth, the holding of the Commonwealth Summit.
Well, that is to be expected. There is always a fringe in any nation. You will find a fringe that is critical of almost everything that is happening.
Yeah, but
that is to be expected.
Sorry, but in Sri Lanka, the lunatic fringe is the mainstream some of the time, or what the lunatic fringe says today, the mainstream politicians say tomorrow or do tomorrow. You don't have that firebreak between the fringe on the margins, because there are links. You can trace the links. There are people who say the most outrageous things about the main threat to Sri Lanka today are minorities A, B, and C, but then who appear in the state media. People who say that the TNA had better watch out how it behaves because all Tamils will bring hatred upon themselves. I read this in the Daily News. And this is, a credentialed person. This is the state media. So, in no other country, and certainly not in Sri Lanka earlier, my father edited the Daily News, would anything like that, which sort of was remotely as blood-curdling as that, would appear in the pages of the main English language daily. Is no longer the main English language.
But you see, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting is also being promoted heavily in the country. The government is taking a very active effort to promote this as the highlight of the Sri Lankan calendar for this year, and it is the highlight. It is definitely.
It's an achievement.
It's as important as the Northern Provincial Council election, which is happening in September after 25 years, and it is an achievement that we are taking the chair of CHOGM. Therefore, don't you think that we will see, as a result of being chair of the Commonwealth, there will be a shift, an attitudinal shift, if you will, in the government?
There should be. What I expect to see, and what I am seeing in embryonic form, is an attitudinal shift on one part of the government, but not so much on another. And there would be efforts to narrow the space that will open up with the holding of the Commonwealth Summit. It is incumbent upon the Commonwealth, the leaders who are coming, and Sri Lankan society to widen the space as much as possible and to keep it as wide as possible for as long as possible. Because this is a very important occasion. Most of those leaders, I mean all those leaders come from democratic countries. There will be the press coming in with them. There's public opinion in most of those countries, and that will be reflected by the press, and that will have its impact on the leaders who attend. So Sri Lanka is not going to be able to run this like some tourism event. I mean, come in, see the happy Sri Lankans, watch the dancers, go check out the gems, enjoy the Kandyan drumming, eat the egg hoppers, and we'll control what's going on. That is not going to work. There could be
there are events. There are also events that are planned on the sidelines. We're having various business forums, trying to draw in investment.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of positives also.
I think so.
That are happening with.
I think so. I think it's the right move, and I think there's a lot we can get out of it. But it depends on the balance of forces in the government. I hope it strengthens the more rational and pragmatic element, and I do believe that the president is one of them. But I'm not sure. It can go either way. We've seen other countries in which there are openings which lead to great openings and a positive transformation. And we have seen countries in which the opening is of very short duration and there's a crackdown shortly after that. Now, whether the crackdown is durable, whether it's possible, one doesn't know. But things are not going to be quite the same
after Chogam.
By the time we come to the end of the year, after Navi Pillai's visit, after the Northern Provincial Council election, and after Chogam. And on balance, I think it'll be better. There'll be a little more space, a few more holes poked in the brown paper bag that's covering our collective head now. We've been all waiting to exhale for a while, to borrow the title of an old movie. We might be able to exhale a little bit after these events.
Well, unfortunately, we're running short of time, so we're going to have to wrap up the discussion here. Thank you once again, Dr. Dayan Jayatilleka, for joining us. It's been a most illuminating discussion and very enjoyable as well. And to our viewers as well, thank you. Until next time, take care.